Hello my friends, Kaitlyn here, and have you read Firstlife by Jenna Showalter? Showalter? Is that right? I think we've established that I can't pronounce authors' names. So okay, I had been highly anticipating reading Firstlife because it had this really cool concept where your life, your normal life where you're living on Earth, is really just your first life. And then when you die, you have a Everlife, where you're essentially immortal, but you have to pick between two factions. And there's Myriad, which is like the world of night and passions, and then Troika, which is kind of the world of light and discipline. And our main character, Tenley Lockwood, aka Ten, is stuck in the middle because she, one, doesn't want to choose, and two, is apparently super important to these two factions because she has this special ability. But I'm left just kind of disappointed. I thought this was a really cool concept, the whole what happens after you die thing, but I just felt like there should have been more convincing of the proof that there was actually an afterlife. I felt like that would have made more sense in terms of her not wanting to decide which afterlife to choose. But no, the Everlife is 100% accepted in society, and people who are dead are actually able to come back to Earth in what they call shells, and then convince people who are still living their first life to join their side, and yada yada yada. It's all very political. So after finishing a book, I always like reading reviews on Goodreads to see what other people are thinking, and a lot of people didn't like this book because they felt like Ten was a special snowflake girl. But honestly, her special status was not the thing that bothered me in this book. I've always liked stories with a chosen one or some kind of regular person figuring out they have special powers that are kind of gonna save the world. Every superhero story ever. I'm not really sure when living vicariously through super magical characters became so out of fashion, but whatever. What I actually find interesting and different about this special snowflake girl story is that she doesn't have any powers or like burgeoning powers that she discovers through the story while she's alive. It's actually once she dies that she's supposed to have the powers. So it was not special snowflake girl status that bothered me in this story. It was really two other things. One, which I was really bothered by in the beginning of the story, and once I reached the end, I realized kind of the purpose of it, and I've accepted its importance. The second one was just plain YA romance trash, and I just don't understand. The part which I eventually liked was that for the majority of the book, Ten was pretty unlikable. Like, the whole thing starts with her being tortured in an asylum because she won't choose between the two factions, and her parents are the ones that actually put her there. So you kind of want to feel sorry for her, but really, it's like, Ten, why won't you just pick a side? You could avoid all of this torture if you just picked one. Myriad and Troika are described in pretty basic detail in the beginning, so you're just kind of like, either one seems fine, girl. It really feels like she's just being an immature child and rebelling from her parents, and it just kind of goes to an extreme that she's accepting torture to just rebel. But despite not liking Ten for at least a good half of the book because she just wouldn't decide and you just want to shake her, what I realized is that the book actually functions as a really good journey of you and Ten learning more about the factions and then coming to a decision that both you as the reader and Ten as a character realize is the right decision. So basically, the reason I think she's so annoying and wishy-washy is because she just doesn't have enough information. You think that she does because she acts like all confident and stuff, but really, she doesn't have any more information than we do as readers, and you know, you wouldn't just get shoved into a random book world and be like, all right, pick where you're gonna spend the rest of your immortal life. But by the end of the book, you were like, you sure as heck better choose that one, girl. What? Okay, so now to the romance, which I cannot defend at all. Why? I was so turned off by the romance in this book as soon as Killian was introduced because it's just being shoved down your throat. Like, Ten is so hot for him despite the fact that he's very obviously an awful person. Now, I am all for villainous characters redeeming themselves as spurred on by love, but that's not what this was. It was the whole Twilight Bella falling head over heels for Edward despite him being very obviously bad and dangerous for her. Now, I will say that I loved Archer. He was a complex character, in my opinion, and by the end of the story, you know him and you like him, and just no spoilers. Also, I appreciated there not being a love triangle because everything seems to have a love triangle these days. So yeah, Firstlife is a lot, and I don't know if I could honestly recommend reading it because, I mean, by the end of it, I found that my opinion had changed and I did kind of like it, but gosh, the first half of it, I was like, why am I reading this? I almost considered stopping reading, and I never stop reading a book. I'm glad I finished it though, and I am considering reading the sequel because I want to know more about the Everlife. I really do, and I think I'm willing to slog through the romance in order to hopefully get to some more answers. So what do you guys think? If the concept from Firstlife was real, where after you die, you go and live another Everlife, what would you want your Everlife to be like? Like a wild and crazy one like Myriad, or, you know, a more disciplined community one like Troika? What do you think? Tell me down in the comments. Plus, remember to like, favorite, share, and subscribe if this video made you smile. See you guys on Thursday.